So you want to get into fantasy, but you feel overwhelmed, you feel intimidated, and you don't really know where to start, then this video is for you. Stay tuned. What's up, y'all? Thank you so much for clicking into this video. My name is Joy if you're new here, and if you're not, welcome back. Thank you for coming back again and again and again. I appreciate y'all that actually subscribe. You know, the 70% that don't subscribe, but you keep coming back, it's okay. I know commitment takes time. Hopefully this video will convince you to let's lock it down, go together. Anyway, in today's video, I'm going to be giving y'all some tips on how to dive into reading fantasy as a beginner from a beginner. So let me give y'all a little context. I started reading again as an adult in 2022, and my first year of reading was like really psychological thrillers, romances here and there, but like really heavy on the psychological thrillers. And then I read some fantasy and I was like, hold on, I kind of like this. And ever since then, it's just been diving straight into the deep end. In this video, we're going to talk about the different types of fantasy, the subgenres that you can get into, some recommendations from me, and some books that I'm really looking forward to reading. So that being said, let's just jump right into it. So what is fantasy? Fantasy is a genre that has magical, fantastical elements and can take place in the real world or in a made up world. So my favorite subgenre of fantasy right now is epic fantasy, but there's a lot of subgenres. We have epic fantasy, high epic fantasy, cozy fantasy, horror fantasy, mystery fantasy. Anything you could think of can be within the fantasy genre. Now, for me, my favorite right now is epic fantasy and some high fantasy. So let me give you a little definition of the two. Now, I'm not pulling this from myself. These are definitions from the internet. So if you don't like my definitions, leave what you think they are down below, or and be nice. Okay, I told y'all I'm a newbie. All right, so don't be coming at me. But from my understanding, according to Google Gemini, whatever her name is, the AI feature, epic fantasy covers a large cast. It has a large scope of the storyline. There's high stake elements, world threatening conflicts, epic battles, a large cast of characters, and that tends to make up what epic fantasy is. So think Game of Thrones, right? I've watched the show. I haven't read the series, which is called A Song of Ice and Fire, but I'm definitely going to get into that. But when you think of epic fantasy, those are the type of stories and books and movies that you think of. Epic fantasy usually takes place on Earth or a world that is similar to Earth, and whereas high fantasy is usually a made up world that has the more fantastical, magical elements, and usually there can be a blend of epic and high fantasy. Like the scope is really big, but they have like dragons or elves, fairies, things like that to make it a high epic fantasy. Then you have subgenres like cozy fantasies, and that usually is like a little bit more low stakes. The storyline is a little bit slower. It emphasizes creating a comforting environment, and it's not as high stakes as epic or high fantasy. Then, like I said, there's plenty of other subgenres within fantasy that you could dive into. So let's talk about how to get you acclimated into reading fantasy. And yes, y'all, I know I use my hands a lot to talk. I'm from New York, sue me. Okay, let's get into how you can start reading epic fantasy or fantasy as a beginner from a beginner. So when I started reading fantasy, I started with a popular series that I found on TikTok, and that really like opened my eyes to like, ooh, I think I might kind of like this. And so from there, I just tried to find stories that gave me that same feeling. And that's rule number one, is that every story is unique in its own way. And yes, they may pull elements that are similar to different stories, different movies, different backgrounds, but you approach each story as its own entity. That way you won't get disappointed if it's not giving you what your favorite series gave you, and then you won't take it out on the author, because y'all know how some of y'all be doing. Number two, when you going into these stories, especially if it is a series that has multiple books, you have to let the author cook in book one. I see so many people not finishing a series because they weren't really into the first 50% of book one, and you really got to let the author cook. Now, usually the first 50% of the first book is going to be a little slow. It's not going to be as much going on because a good author is going to lay the foundation of the world. They're going to lay the foundation of the conflict and really like set the stage for the bigger epic story to take place. So one thing I always tell myself, if I'm like, oh my gosh, like this book really is just not for me, it's like, if the series description sounds like something that you would be interested in, give the author time to cook. I'm also a big advocate of DNFing or do not finish, did not finish a book because life is, too. I'm not gonna say life is too short because I want to live a long life, but life is moving too fast to be reading books that we're not interested in, period. But like I said, if you see videos about, you keep seeing the same videos like about certain series, or if there's series that you're really interested in and it sounds like something you would like, just give the author time to cook. There's a multiple book series. I'm not saying you have to give them all of book one, but like give them at least the first 50%, 50 to 75% of book one to really set the stage, because bro, sometimes once that stage is set, the story will become one of your favorites. And my example for that is Malice by John Gwynne, and that's the first book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. The first 50%, 75% was a little bit slow, but I saw that he was really trying to give you an understanding of the characters, their motivations, the world that they were living in. And let me tell you, the end of that book through the rest of the series, nothing but gas. Like, just completely incredible series, my absolute favorite series at the moment, and I couldn't say enough good things about it, and I'm glad I let John Gwynne cook. He definitely is becoming one of my favorite authors, and sometimes you just gotta give people the benefit of the doubt that they're trying to take the story somewhere. Another tip for fantasy reader newbies is don't look on social media. Don't go on social media to find fan art, to find, reviews until you're done, or like you really feel like you okay with things being spoiled, because it's going to get spoiled. They're going to spoil something. And I spoiled something in The Faithful and the Fallen and I was so mad. But when it came up, it still made me very emotional. But just try to stay away from spoilers because it'll ruin like the whole experience. But if you like me, like sometimes you can spoil it a little bit. I'm still gonna read, I'm still gonna watch it, like, but I tend to stay away from the internet like about certain books when I'm currently reading them, because I don't want to miss all of the good, like exciting parts because somebody spoiled it on the internet. And that would be my fault. So stay away from that. Last tip is don't count yourself out. Like, you're definitely smart enough to read these fantasy books. I don't think any author really sits down and when they get ready to write and they're like, oh, I don't want anybody to be able to read this book because it's going to be so convoluted and confusing. So give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Like, if you can read, you can read fantasy. No story. Well, stop that, because there's some books that are confusing, but fiction is written to entertain, to tell a story. So if you're already counting yourself out that you don't know, hold on, y'all, my sister calling me. All right, y'all, my sister called me. I said I would call her back. Anyway, if you want to read a story, pace yourself. Don't convince yourself that you're incapable of reading something because the book is really long, the series is really long, like people that you admire have loved it and you feel like you're inadequate. Like, leave all that, all of that stuff in the trash, yeet it into the trash, okay? You could read it. If you could read, you could read any book. Take your time, pace yourself. I know sometimes on social media, like we see people who read a lot of books per month or per week or whatever. And so we feel like sometimes like you feel like you need to be reading more. But some of these books are huge and they have a lot of detail, and that's purposely to enrich you and like engulf you in the story. So take your time and just, you, even if you read one chapter, you come back, you read another book, you come back, just take your time so that you can really enjoy the story. Now, for my fantasy newbies, that really want to get into fantasy, here are a few series that I think would help you on your journey that you would really enjoy as someone that's new to the genre. First and foremost is the Burning series by Evan Winter, and this consists of The Rage of Dragons, which is book 1, and then book 2, which is The Fires of Vengeance. It is an unfinished series. Evan, we waiting for you, bro. Come through, come through, come through and finish the series, please. But this series follows Tao and his quest for revenge after facing some really horrible circumstances. And it's one of those stories that has someone from a lower um, socioeconomic background and them working their way up to the top, being fueled by revenge. And let me tell you something, Tao is crazy, but it makes for a great book. The side characters are amazing. The world is easy to envision. It's such a great series, and the action is crazy. This was one of the first books that I read that was like over 500 pages, and when I tell y'all, I read it in like 4 days because the story gripped me from beginning to end. I definitely recommend that series if you're really trying to get into fantasy. Y'all, I took a sip of water and spilled it on my shirt, so I moved my mic there to hide it. But if you're coming from a romance background, The Shepherd King Duology by Rachel Gillig will probably be an amazing series for you to start off with to get into fantasy. It consists of One Dark Window and then the sequel Two Twisted Crowns. And this duology is chef's kiss. The world is so immersive and like it feels like you're there. The characters are amazing and funny and dramatic and just crazy. And Rachel Gillig does a great job of like creating these atmospheric settings that's easy to read. The romance and both books are chef's kiss. The stakes are high, the action is fast paced, the story is fast paced, and it really just like engulfs you from page one. So I really feel like if you're coming from like a strong romance background, then you'll definitely enjoy this series. And last but not least, even though I didn't read this yet, I want to suggest the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson because a lot of people that I follow on the internet say that this series is really easy to get into. It's a great way to start your fantasy reading journey, and it follows. It's like a heist type story, so the action is really fast. The world is really easy to follow. The magic system is easy to follow. So I definitely think that that could be another series. I'll definitely report back when I read it though, because this opinion might change. But a lot of people say that this is a great place to start. A great place to start. So I thought that I would just throw it in there so you could check it out, and then maybe you could tell me what you thought. So yeah, y'all. Long story short, if you could read, you could read fantasy. There's nothing scary about it. It is becoming one of my favorite genres. I just love getting lost in these new worlds and meeting these new characters and like the stakes and my heart beating on my chest. I just absolutely love it. So let me know down below what some of your favorite fantasy series are, or if you read any series that I've mentioned. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Happy reading. Bye.